Hey everybody, Yankee here. I'm sure most of you have seen over the last few days that recently the Biden administration trotted out their Surgeon General and had him declare that guns are now considered a public health issue. It's a public health crisis. And this has stirred up a lot of questions in people. They're like, why are they doing this? What do they hope to achieve? How does this affect my Second Amendment rights? People are concerned because they're like, oh, the Surgeon General's involved. He's the best doctor in the country. It must be serious. Well, first off, the Surgeon General is not the best doctor in the country. He's just a high-ranking military doctor who's willing to put aside his medical integrity and be a politician for the administration and take whatever stance they tell him to take on medical issues and to say whatever they want him to say when it comes to other things. Like they want a Surgeon General that's going to say, ooh, Biden can remember his name and he can do 1,000 jumping jacks. Or they want him to say, Trump is 6'8" and weighs 192 pounds. They just want him to lie. So they're basically another politician. They want them to support them when it comes to public policies. And in this case, the reason they're doing this, to answer the first part of that question, what do they hope to gain? Why are they doing this? Well, the Democrats for a long time have relied on the public interest argument in courts to be able to violate the Second Amendment by saying, oh, if it makes everybody safer, we can violate the Second Amendment. And they knew the days of that were numbered, that eventually the courts would step in, the higher courts, and say, you can't do this. You can't suspend constitutional rights for public safety. Constitutional rights aren't about public safety. They're individual rights. And yes, you could say society would be much safer if you suspended all people's rights. If the government could just lock up anyone that was trouble, they could say, oh, it's much safer. But constitutional rights are there to prevent things like that from happening. And like I said, the Democrats knew that the argument for public safety to violate Second Amendment rights, the days of those were numbered. So they concocted this little plan where they said, well, when it comes to public safety with health issues, we can violate people's constitutional right. That's been established. Like if you go to Africa and you come back with Ebola, they can lock you up. You don't have to commit a crime. They don't have to give you due process. They can say you're dangerous, lock you up. So they want to be able to do that with guns. They want to be able to say, well, since it's a health issue, we can violate constitutional rights. Because now it's not a Second Amendment issue, it's a public health issue. That's their goal. Now, this actually has zero merit. I don't know where they pulled this from. Saying guns are a health crisis in society today would be like saying in the mid-20th century nooses were a health crisis. And if we just got rid of nooses, African Americans would be able to live in harmony with everyone else because we just blame the rope. And that's what they're kind of trying to do with guns. And it makes about as much sense as, like I said, saying nooses were the problem back in the 50s and the 60s. It was people and their attitudes and other underlying issues that were the problem. And those had to be dealt with. And in this case, they're trying to say it's the guns that are the problem. And therefore we can regulate them. And there's no precedent for that. There's no similarities between guns and diseases. If you walk up to someone who's got a disease or they just walk through the mall you're in, you can catch that disease. Thousands of people can catch that disease. If you get near someone who owns a gun, you're not going to catch gun. You're not going to suddenly have guns. Now, someone can kill someone with a gun, and you feel like, oh, that's like catching a disease. Well, no, that's like saying getting run over by a car is catching a disease. It's ridiculous. It has no medical merit, has no philosophical merit, has no legal merit whatsoever. It's a ridiculous argument. But it's the best thing that the left, the Democrats, have been able to come up with to be able to violate your rights when it comes to gun laws. And that's their goal. They want to be able to say, since this is a public health issue, it's no longer a Second Amendment issue, and no one can challenge the restrictions we put on guns via the Second Amendment. But here's the thing. What does this mean that they've now made this announcement? Is all of that true now? No. This announcement has no weight whatsoever. No legal weight. There's no law behind it. There's no legislation behind it. There's no congressional support behind it. Nothing. This is just a desperate old man, pathetic old man, trying to craft his legacy. He wants to be the one, he wants to be able to say he was the one that made it to where we can violate the Second Amendment willy-nilly. And there's nothing they can do about it because it's not a Second Amendment issue. I'm the one that overcame that pesky Second Amendment. That's his goal. He wants to be known as that guy because, he's getting close to the end of his term. He's getting close to the end of his life, very close. I'd say they're probably about the same amount of time. And he wants to create a legacy. And that's what this is about. It has no legal weight. It has no merit. It has none of those things behind it. It's just a last gasp attempt, like I said, of this failing old bitter politician to put his name in the history books, other than being like the oldest man ever elected president or serve as president. So that's what it's about, and that's what it means. It means they want to get around the Second Amendment. They want to be able to violate the Constitution because they know they're violating the Constitution with their anti-gun laws. But they're so intent on doing it, they're trying to craft legal loopholes where they can get around your constitutional rights without being able to be challenged on your constitutional rights. And it has a snowball's chance in hell of standing up in court because it doesn't make sense. Like I said earlier, it makes no sense whatsoever. It has no merit. It's just a ridiculous, go around for them to achieve something that should not be able to be achieved in this country. And as far as how's it affecting your gun rights, it isn't, because like I said, it has no power. It has no meaning. It was political theater. Now, if Biden could get it through, he would. If he could get it to stand in court, he would. Like I said, he wants this to be his legacy. But his chances are pretty slim. I think it's far more likely he'd win the next election than it is he'd get this through. And I don't think the chances of that are all that great, 50-50 at best. But on this, I think he's got like 0% chance of making this happen with the Supreme Court we have right now, with the circuit courts we have right now. Not going to happen. But it is a little bit of a warning for what could happen in the future. If we let these far left ideologists on guns have too much power and stay in office and appoint judges, etc., we could see something like that, something as stupid as that, actually happen. And that's why we always have to pay attention to things like this, even when they're this stupid.